Hello and welcome to SweetSpotDFS. This is a review for the 2021 Shriners Hospitals for Children Open, where Martin Laird is your winner. The 2009 champ is also the 2021 champ. And frankly, it was a great tournament, like the last bit of it. Matthew Wolff was in contention. Austin Cook was in contention. Really, Martin Laird, it was his tournament to lose. He bogeyed the last hole to put this into a playoff between Wolff and Austin Cook. Had Austin Cook or Matthew Wolff won, I would have won more money each way. I would have won more money if Cook had won, so I was kind of rooting against Laird. Nothing personal. It was just, trying to make a little bit more money. So the fantasy gods just didn't have it in their favor to grant me more money, but it was a great week overall. I put $27 in and came out $51 up, or not up, but I won 51. So you do the math, it's nearly a $24 profit or something like that, almost double my money. So it was great. And I have no complaints. Like the bucket system, the entire week of the players I was on, it was great. So why don't we go ahead and get right into the spreadsheet? Like I said, Martin Laird won. He won at 23 under. We were kind of expecting something around 20 under. So to see 23 was surprising, especially when 20 under was leading this tournament after 54 holes, 3 rounds. I figured it would have jumped up to like 25, 26. Usually playing in the afternoon, a little bit more difficult. So somebody at the bottom or someone a couple shots behind would have had to shot, 6 to 8 under to get to that mark, unless one of these guys here at the end or at the top of the leaderboard would have shot a little bit lower. But either way, 23 under is the winner. We kind of knew it was going to be a birdie fest. The weather was perfect. The wind was low for most of the entire week. I think I don't remember who. I do remember a lot of people in the golf industry talking about how it was going to be windy. We really didn't see the wind. Saturday, it kind of picked up, and then Sunday afternoon, it kind of picked up. So that's kind of why the score didn't go lower for the tournament than 23 under. So when the conditions are benign, this course is very easy to make birdies. And this week was a perfect result for that. So anyways, 23 under, 3 people tied. And then you got a slew of people, not 20, but 19, 18, and 17. So we kind of expected that. So first thing I like to do in these review videos is go to the 2021 recent form tab, look at the optimal lineup versus the $1 GPP lineup. So the optimal lineup are all the golfers here that have the little tick marks. So all these little black corner marks you see, those are the optimal lineup. And those just listening, I can go ahead and state those out for you. It's Martin Laird, Austin Cook, Matthew Wolff, James Hahn, Will Zalatoris, and Big Bad Bryson DeChambeau. Bryson, despite his 8th place finish, scored some pretty decent points. I think he was like the 5th best scorer or 4th best scorer in this field. And it's a lot of it. I mean, I think he would have won this tournament easy if it wasn't for his Saturday round where he had 3 doubles, I believe. That's not good. That's 6 strokes. He easily could have been in the hunt for this tournament. He had good rounds on Sunday, Friday. I think good rounds all over. Thursday was a good round, obviously. 9 under, I think. So either way, I think it's a disappointing showing for Bryson, but it just shows you, like, this guy, I don't know. Tough courses, he's going to play well. Easy courses, he's going to play well. He's going to be almost a lock in every tournament he plays. So he did make the optimal lineup, meaning he paid off his salary despite his 8th place finish, which it's very rare, very rare. The $1 winning lineup. So usually I compare the optimal lineup towards the GPP, the highest entry fee GPP that I enter. And this week it was the $1. So didn't feel like spending extra money, although I've been on a hot winning streak. So Maybe we'll up it, not this upcoming week since this is the CJ Cup, but maybe the week after, or I'll just save it all for the Masters. In all honesty, it's probably going to be saved for the Masters. Either way, $1 GPP. The winning lineup had Martin Laird, so it's all the golfers here highlighted in blue. Martin Laird, Abraham Ancer, Peter Malnati, Bryson DeChambeau, Harold Varner III, and Louis Oosthuizen. So, unfortunately, Harold Varner III double bogeyed hole 17. It was a terrible shot, short left and into the water. With that double bogey, that moved him from 3 under for that round to 1 under. The par at this golf course was 71, so he missed his bonus. Yeah, well, he had to go into hole 18, birdie it to get that all rounds under 70 bonus that DraftKings has, and that's an additional 5 points. That played a huge factor for not just myself, but a lot of people across the industry. A lot of potential, a lot of people were on Harold Varner III, but some of the people that I've noticed online talking about it kind of were screwed out of winning more money. Me being one of them too. So unfortunately, but hey, that's how it goes. That's DFS golf. A great lineup. The $1 GPP winning lineup used $49,900 out of $50,000 salary. So he only left $100 on the table, or she. I'm sorry. It's a he or she. The optimal lineup used $49,200. The winning lineup scored 717.5 points for the $1 GPP. The optimal lineup scored 795. So there's 80 points in between, meaning there was the possibilities, the potential of outscoring that seemed pretty easy, but obviously I wasn't one of them. Nobody else was. Great win for the guy who ended up rostering the guys in blue you see on the screen, the ones that I said earlier. But hey, we had an opportunity to. So, you know what I should have done? I totally forgot to highlight the golfers here. I don't think they're in the same order. I know the first 3 are, so we can go ahead and do this. I'm just doing this so it looks clean on the screen. Let's see, Abraham Ancer, Peter Malnati. Are those two going to be next to each other? Yes, they are. That's always nice and easy. Han, Zalatoris, Cantlay, DeChambeau. Perfect. I love when it just works out this way. Sometimes I rearrange them in different orders, so that's why I can't just blindly trust that this is going to be the same. But there we go. Now we can see everything on the 2021 DK page. This is where I do all of my analysis throughout the week, whether it's the course fit video, whether it's the course fit video, the stat fit video, or the strategy video. We usually come back to this page and take a look at all the golfers. So let's go ahead and let's just straight up talk about we'll go left to right. We'll talk about the stats. So coming into this tournament, when we looked at the 2020 page, we kind of were looking at the top 20 stats. And again, we were looking at just this year. We weren't looking at the 2020 season. So last year at this event, there were like 3 events prior to. This year, there were 3 events as well. So it was kind of easy. And that's why we would use this column here to try to find, players, if I should say, it were to show up here. And quite frankly, we see a couple guys here with 7 top 20 stats. Let's go ahead and put a filter on this. So of 7 guys, the most that were in this field were 9. So we had 2 guys at the top. We kind of knew looking at stats, it was probably going to matter. So if we would go ahead and go top to bottom, the guy with the most top 20 stats was Matthew Wolff. He had 8 and he finished second. But you can see the rest of the guys with their top 20 stats here, entering this tournament, most of them finished inside the top 20. So not really a huge surprise there. I guess if we really want to do this, how we looked at the stat video, We kind of did it from salary and then looked here. So we probably aren't going to see Martin Laird up there right away. So either way, you still see a ton of top 20 finishes. So really the golfers with great stats heading into this tournament ended up winning this event. I can't really go through the course fit model right now. Like there were certain golfers that we were on because of how they shaped their shots. Bryson was one of them. So is Patrick Cantlay. So is Webb Simpson. Like it was really difficult, if you remember looking at the course fit video, of trying to determine, you know, which golfer was a better course fit. All three of them, and I mean, we can also include Matthew Wolff because they all draw the golf ball. And drawing the golf ball was very advantageous at this golf course. You can see everybody up here finish 13th or better. Really, like Sergio, he can shape it both ways. Louis draws the golf ball. I think Answer fades it. Nah draws the golf ball. He was in this, by the way. He was in contention. Zach Johnson draws the golf ball. I think Will Zalatoris hits a small fade. It's a pretty straight golf ball. Russell Henley draws the golf ball. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember exactly, but if you were watching any of the PGA Tour live, Joaquin Niemann was drawing the golf ball. So, and look at the salary leaderboard also. Actually, I'm not including missed cuts. So let's go ahead and add those to the list. What I see up here right away is, so Scheffler fades the golf ball primarily. Casey does draw it. Ricky changed to a fade. I believe Kokrak does draw the golf ball. And I do believe English has a small little draw, but Morikawa fades the golf ball, and so does Hideki Matsuyama. Of the golfers that did fade the golf ball, you know, in comparison to those that draw the golf ball, there are far more top 20 finishes here at the top for golfers who draw the golf ball than there were for golfers who fade the golf ball. So that was huge. Like that was a one of those course hit things that we really thought about. I wish I would have kind of talked about the top 20 stats from last year, but I'm just going to throw them up here in case you're watching this all the way through. Should have added that with a little stat fit portion before, but oh well, not a big deal. Let's go ahead. So we talked about we talked about stat fit, we talked about course fit. Let's talk a little bit about strategy. We're going left to right. So I kind of created a model, and it was based off of pricing and based off of the bucket score. So the score here, you know, highest to lowest. I'll be honest, I really didn't have the greatest of models. In fact, I can show you what I ended up doing. So I used the percentages of each year's bucket system or each year's bucket to see, I put it into a number. So if we were to look at, I think this is Bryson up at top. Okay, it's Webb Simpson at top. So Webb, 17.5 for his last year bucket. He was a last year 3. If I go ahead and go to the bucket, where the bucket is created, 17.5 is this number here. So that's where I got it from. It was the percentage of last year 3s, or the percentage of top 10 finishes over the last 6 years that were last year 3s compared to the entire sample size. So I just use that as my number. So 17.5, same with the last week bucket. And then I also used their percentage of rounds under 70 as a score and just added them up. That's all I did. So it wasn't, you know, it wasn't super complex, but it was a way to create numbers. And then all I did was compared it against their salary range. So the first one for me was 10 and above, and then it was 9 to 10, 8 to 9, so on and so forth. So that's how the number over here was created. So you can see a lot of green. We also have a lot of red. I shouldn't say a lot, but you know, a fair amount of red, which are missed cuts. So the unfortunate thing is I would love to see this seeing 1st through 5th, you know, somewhere in the top 10. But I guess, again, I didn't really create a very complex scoring system. So the sweet spot number over here, it wasn't like I put, over time, I'm going to perfect this score. But as of right now, I didn't really have a strategy for this week. Going forward, though, I'm continuously looking at this and seeing how I can perfect it and try to find a good model to go by. So either way, that's where the number comes from, the sweet spot number. And I'm not going to spend any more time on it. Let's go ahead and look at the rest of the pieces of information. So the next one, and also as I sort this by result, you can see the sweet spot score over here. None of these were 0. Most of the time they're not going to be 0 unless they're just god awful, you know, like we wouldn't want to use them. You can also see the stats also available there, so just keep that in mind. But as we go through this, I'm actually going to just scroll over, so we just only have the result here. I think I want to hide this column. And let's just talk about the top 10 first of all, before I get into more of this information. So if you're with me in the strategy videos, we talk about the bucket system a lot. And the general rule of the bucket system is the lower the number, the better the score. And really, we heavily look at the last year bucket. That's usually the first bucket we will look at. And that's the number, the column that's highlighted on the screen right now. Usually, the lower the number, the better. And that is looking at information that goes back super far. I'm looking at this number here and I realize it looks really funny because I did not. All right. We have to update this on the fly because I forgot to copy and paste just the values. So it's currently looking up the spreadsheet that I updated just prior to coming on, and I forgot that these have formulas in them. So don't mind me, this won't take too long. It's unfortunate, really. Everything just goes up 1. There we go. No, my color coding will be off. Not a huge deal. We will figure this out. There you go. Go ahead and throw a filter back on this. And anything that's blank, usually just... How about this? For the video, we are going to take this out. Just because. Anyways. Let's get back at this. Sorry. We want to look at result. And we want to talk about the bucket system. So the lower the score, the better. Usually up for either of these buckets. So the last year bucket or the last week bucket. Does not matter. If they're closer to a 1, there's a higher likelihood they're going to do better at this tournament. Our winner was a 5-4. That is pretty uncommon. If I were to go back and look at every single tournament and their bucket score, we rarely see a 5-4 or a last year 5 at that matter winning a tournament who isn't someone ranked inside the top 300. Martin Laird does not rank inside the top 300 for the official golf or official world golf ranking. That is indicated by this column here. So the fact he won is very rare. He has won this tournament before, like I said in the beginning, but really, I don't think we could foresee, Martin Laird. I don't think we can foresee him doing, absolutely awesome. Like, he's worth a flyer, obviously, a past winner. And I know, like, Diane Knox online on Twitter, I don't remember where she said this, but she noted that it was a dark horse of her. Well, she's from Scotland, so is Martin Laird. It doesn't surprise me. Like, yeah, they go through the numbers, but that a lot of times doesn't mean anything. It was a great pick by her, don't get me wrong, and there was some merit to it, obviously. Martin Laird plays well at this golf course. Despite his 47.71 course history average over the last 6 years, he has done here well in the past. He's 47 some years. I think he's 47 years old. So to see him do well is kind of, I mean, it's rare. I can't think of a better word, but it's rare. However, the rest of the bucket worked pretty decently. So if we look up here, our first last year one is in 5th place. That's Will Zalatoris. I did play some shares of Will. I didn't play a lot, but I did play some. I knew the 3-1s were going to do well. And a reason why I knew the 3-1s were going to do well, one of the things that I've learned over the entire span of covering the bucket system is you have to look at each bucket uniquely. You have to look at the talent that's in each of these buckets. So if there is a bucket, like say the one we're talking about with Matthew Wolff, Bryson DeChambeau, Patrick Cantlay, obviously last year 3s had great golfers inside them. And last year 3s were golfers who finished top 10 or top 20 the year before. Now I know I don't have that on my screen. You're just going to have to take my word for it. I know that that's what it is, primarily because I'm looking at the last year scores over here and combining them with what the last year bucket score is for them. So I'm guessing that's going to move up a little bit, but then we have a bunch of last year 2s. You wouldn't think to use last year 2s, and I won't lie, there weren't good last year 2s. Abram Answer was the best last year 2. How about this? Let's go ahead. First of all, what I want to talk about is not so much first of all, but here's your top 10 and all the buckets inside. So we have 2 last year 1s, we have 3 last year 2s, 4 last year 3s, 2 last year 5s, and 1 last year 6. That doesn't surprise me one bit. I won't lie, it'd be nice to see one more last year 1 in there to validate the last year 1 bucket, but still, having 2 in there, not terrible, because if we go ahead and sort by salary first so we can kind of do the same comparison that we did earlier in the week, the last year 1 bucket wasn't fantastic. Sergio easily could have been at the top. His Sunday round was +2. I believe heading into the tournament heading into the round on Sunday, before the entire day started, he was sitting 5th, I think. So he could easily done better. But he was the last year 1 that I did like. I will say the last year 1 bucket definitely underperformed. But we do see quite a bit at the top here that finished top 20. And let me actually do that. Let's go. I'm sorry. I'm going all over the place. We'll do it this way. So we had 5 golfers who were last year 1s finish inside the top 10 or top 20. There were a lot of missed cuts. Obviously, the notable missed cuts are these 4 golfers here: Harris English, Jason Day, Paul Casey, Ricky Fowler. One of the things to go along with buckets I've been realizing is course fit. This was a low scoring affair. Jason Day and Paul Casey don't do well at low scoring birdie fests. And Ricky Fowler's going through swing changes. The one huge surprise to me was Harris English. I thought Harris English was going to do a lot better than he did, but obviously he didn't. But we have to look at each bucket and we have to include course fit. We have to include stat fit. And I would say those guys weren't the greatest with course fit. So, and the last year 1 bucket is usually the largest. This one had 43 golfers in it. Of 43 golfers, 5 finished top 20. But here we go to the last year 2 bucket. So the last year 2 bucket is a lot larger than I remembered, honestly. There's 39, so 4 less than last year 1 bucket. But look at how many guys finished inside the top 20. We have 7. 7 to add to the 5, that's 12. 12 golfers inside the top 20 were either last year 1s or last year 2s. The top 20 consisted of, sometimes this number's a little bit, 23 golfers. So half of the golfers were in the last year 1, last year 2 bucket, just so you guys are aware. Scroll down. Actually, we'll go this way first, and then we'll come back. I do want to tell you who the best last year twos were. So Abraham Answer, highest priced guy, 8,700 in the last year two bucket group. Zach Johnson was second, and Joaquin Niemann was third. You can see this group doesn't have as much firepower as the last year one group, but still the result was pretty decent for last year two golfers, because we do have several inside. Like I said, we had several inside the top 20, 7. It's something just to take note of, honestly. A bunch of missed cuts, but it's because the pool is pretty large. Now, the last year 3 bucket obviously had the most firepower. There are only 23 golfers in this bucket, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 golfers finished inside the top 20. If you add all those, all these buckets up, you're gonna have the majority of the golfers in the field. 105. So the rest of the buckets outside of the last year 3, you're gonna see most of these are pretty small. And you could make the argument that by volume alone, that's the reason why we're not going to see a lot of golfers inside the top 20. And I'm not going to disagree with you, but I will say this. Most of these buckets pretty much perform the way the bucket system's intended. And what I mean by that is you're not going to see a lot of golfers in the last year 6s or last year 5s inside the top 20. We sure did this year, but you also see 0 last year 4s. So buckets do change constantly each year. This year, obviously, the 4s are going to get hit hard. They could be replaced by the 5s. So when we look at this next year, Martin Laird could be a last year 4 for this tournament. I know that's a little bit confusing, but the buckets are always ever changing. Because they will always be a continuation of analysis. Seeing what finishing positions from the year prior and the week prior will always kind of, I wouldn't even say like they're going to be morphing or transitioning or anything like that, but they are, I'll put it this way too. They will always change because we'll get different golfers at these tournaments all the time. So we'll get different types of golfers. We'll get more elite golfers. We'll get maybe weaker fields. It just depends who's coming over. It also depends on how those finishing positions from the week before or the year before matter. It's always something that should be evolving. That's my thought on it. It's not something that should just be stamped. But for this tournament, obviously, you see 4 last year 5s finished inside the top 20, and that is 4 out of 14, nearly 30%. I think it's really close to 30%, maybe 29. I don't remember, but either way, that conversion rate is pretty good for this bucket. But that is what the bucket system is here for. It's to kind of try to figure out who we should and shouldn't play. Now, I enjoy seeing this because I faded Scotty Scheffler. He was a last year 6. I faded all of these guys that were last year 6s. I also faded Colin Morikawa and Doc Redman, who were last year 5s. We could almost make the argument that the more expensive a golfer is in these last year 5 and last year 6 buckets, the more reason to fade them and play bullets with the rest of the guys, perhaps. I'm not totally sold on that, but it is a thought. So anyways, 29 minutes into the video. Okay. The other thing that I like looking at is tee time pairings. And I'm only going to look at the top 20 here. So over here, what I did in the earlier in the DFS strategy video is golfers who are highlighted in a dark green mean there were golfers who had a great scoring average. Golfers who make a lot of birdies and shoot low rounds. If there were multiple guys, like if they were better than the field average with their scoring average, I highlighted them green. Well, let's put it this way. If there was only one golfer in their group, I highlighted them red. If there were 2 golfers in the group, I highlighted them yellow. If there were 3, I highlighted them light green. But if there were the top scoring guys, I highlighted them a darker green. So I know that was long-winded, but that is how these games over here are highlighted. So you can see we had Matthew Wolff and Bryson DeChambeau. You could have rostered them together. In fact, I think I saw a lot of winning lineups roster those golfers together. Another surprise would be Joaquin Niemann and Webb Simpson. I mean, I don't really see it as a surprise, but it's kind of cool. Here's one that I don't have highlighted. It's Siwoo Kim and Austin Cook. They probably elevated their playing levels on Thursday and Friday and put them in a good position to do well on the weekend. That's one way to look at it for sure. I don't see any other matching ones, but you can obviously see there's a lot of golfers here that are highlighted green or yellow or red. So by and all, looking at, scoring average probably mattered more so than anything. I'm going to go ahead and hide these columns quickly because I do want to go over each stat. So I'm just going to go over it really quick. I don't know. What am I trying to do? There you go. I want to freeze up until this moment. There we go. And just look at the stats. So we can first look at course history and see, did course history matter? You can see a lot of golfers here finish inside the top 20. So you just look at this column over here. You can see all the golfers that finished top 20 by the light green color scale, basically. So course history looked like a good thing. Recent form average, it was okay. A little less than course history, but still pretty good. How about scoring average? If we went from scoring average top to bottom, a lot of golfers inside the top 20. So scoring average was a good one for sure. How about differential? And this is the difference between their lowest round in 2020 and their scoring average. That really didn't play a huge factor, but there's Martin Laird down there. So obviously Martin Laird had the ability to go low. And that's actually kind of a cool thing to see, a cool sign. If we're evaluating each tournament and it's a scoring fest, I think looking at the differential wouldn't be terrible for some of these, bullet plays that are under 7K. Obviously, we don't see a lot of golfers up here, but seeing this is kind of good. The other thing I would like to see is all the ones, last year ones. I wish they would have done better, but oh well. How about the percent of rounds under 70? Another good column to look at. So definitely looking at that going forward. How about the grass stats? Grass stats show anything? We had 5 golfers inside the top 20 for overall bent. 2020 bent grass stats. We also have 5. And a slew of missed cuts. So it didn't look like grass stats were a super important thing to look at, but still look good nonetheless. Let's go ahead. I'm not going to go through every stat, primarily because I have 2020 results as well as 2021 results, and both of these stats are from the beginning of each season going all the way until, 2020 would be the entire year, and then 2021 would be up until last week's tournament, the Sanderson Farms Championship. So when we look at this, obviously green is good, but there are some really bad golfers in here that changed this color scale bad. So we can see a negative here when we look at 2020. How about this? I'm just going to highlight them on the screen here. I'm not going to hide them. That's too much work. But we can look at each of these stats like this. So the 2020 stats, I mean, yeah, that's way too difficult. We're just going to go top to bottom. I'm going to let you, so everything that's light blue, let's go 2020 season first. So your top stat getters, 2020, strokes gained tee to green. You can see we have 6 golfers inside the top 20 that were top tee to green in this field. Off the tee, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So off the tee was a pretty good stat to look at. Approach, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Around the green, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And really, I'm guessing we're probably seeing a lot of the same golfers up here. And if that's the case, then obviously they were a shoo-in to play. We see Bryson. We see Webb once again. Those guys finished inside the top 20. Putting, there were only 4 golfers here. I guess I'm not going to go to green and reg or anything like that. Maybe we can look at birdie or better just to see if that was important whatsoever. And it really wasn't. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 golfers from 2020's top birdie or better percentage stats finish inside the top 20. How about we look at this year's stats? And when it comes to tee to green, there's just not enough stats, it looks like, to really determine if one stat was better than another. How about approach? So we're seeing actually less golfers who are top in their stats for this field inside the top 20. So hard to go with that. Putting. Hey, look at that. Putting was a good stat to look at. So recent putting stats might be a good thing to look at. That's a lot of golfers inside the top 20. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. How about birdie or better? This also would be more of a recent stat, and that was not good at all. So, stats, strokes gained stats are really difficult to look at. That's why I like to refer more to the bucket system as opposed to strokes gained, because I think there's a little bit more advantage when it comes to looking at someone's performance over the last, 7 weeks, or not even so much 7 weeks, over the last week, as well as at this tournament the year before. So Martin Laird, kind of an anomaly, being a 5-4 and winning this event, but pretty much the bucket system showed why it's mostly successful. I wouldn't say entirely successful, not for this week. But you could have got on some good plays. I really like Sung J M, and if you were to pay, Sung J with Will Zalatoris, that wasn't a terrible way to go. Obviously, it probably wouldn't have net you really good wins. And if we were to come back to the bucket system and look at your min-max, your min was 2, your max was 7. This will obviously change to a 1 now. But barely. Sung Jae missed the top 10 by a stroke, I believe. Yeah, he missed it by 1 stroke. So 13th to 8th place. And I'm sorry, we're going to have 2 golfers inside. So yeah, it still works out. So that wasn't so terrible. Either way, I'm going to cover how I did my lineups really quickly. So I stuck to kind of a core of golfers and use the bucket system. So obviously what I do in this column is just grab a random amount of 6K golfers. I usually only like up to 4 golfers in the 6K range, and I only play 10 of them. Then I sprinkle in the rest. So if there were 10 golfers, or if there were golfers, like Mark Hubbard was one. I really liked Mark Hubbard. I believe I also liked Tom Hoagie. I don't remember what my ownership was. If I were to go to the lineups here. So Henrik Norlander was one. Mark Hubbard was another. Do we have another 6K guy up here? No. So you can see I don't play 6K golfers more than 10 times in my lineups, or not in my lineups, but my overall lineup construction. And then Cameron Tringali was another one. So yeah, those golfers were the only ones that I stuck with 7 or more. The rest of them I just threw in and I randomize it. So like I literally go like this, right click and randomize. I don't care where they are. Obviously they need to fit the salary mold, or within the salary. But this is usually, I actually start this first and then I work everything in after. So I'll start with, this row here, put in my 5 golfers that I like. Usually go 11, 9, maybe 8, most likely 7. Actually, no, it would be like over 10, over 9, over 8, and then 2 7s is usually my way to add with 6K golfers. And then from here, all I do is I click and I drag down. So it would look something like this. And then from there, I basically substitute 3 golfers in each column here. So you can see that the names do change up here, as you can see. And I only go down 5 columns because, again, my 6th column is always random with 6K golfers. It just, to me, it finds the most success, and it has provided me the greatest results. And I do go by the bucket system, as you can see. Most of my lineups will always have a 1 in them, a last year 1. So you can see there was at least 1, but also in the 6K range, or the under 7K range, there were a bunch of greens there as well. So I was likely going to be on 2 at sometimes just 1. And that's a way to kind of do a checks and balances for me. So I'll try to showcase that a little bit more going forward with my videos. Now, next week, I am not going to do 3 videos before the start of the tournament. I'm just going to do 1. I'm going to do a DK strategy video, and I will try to get it on a Tuesday as long as tee times are given to us before 5 p.m. on Tuesday. So if tee times are given before 5 p.m. on Tuesday, I will create a DK strategy video that night, publish it or post it. That way you can have it for the entire day Wednesday. If not, you can assume that video will come out Wednesday evening, most likely. So be on the lookout for that. I'll cover a very quick course fit video with that. Not course fit video, but I'll include course fit, stat fit, and then the DK strategy with that one. So it could be a little bit longer, but we're playing at a golf course we haven't played at before. This tournament is a little bit more unique than it has been in the past. It's going to be in Vegas once again, so we're kind of doing the 2-swing double, or the 2-swing Vegas. I don't know what you want to call it. So it's really unique. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to have a bucket score, I don't think, for it, just because of how unique it is. It is possible I might. So we'll see. I might do a comprehensive one. It's all determined based off of what I see when I put together the spreadsheet. So look forward to that. Again, I won't have a video tomorrow, but I might have one on Tuesday. So thank you for watching this week. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And yeah, hopefully I see you Tuesday. All right, bye.